It's time for a reality check.
We're here to deconstruct health and fitness trends and provide tangible advice so you can become 1% better with each choice starting today. Welcome back to Reality Check. We are your hosts, Jess and Jill. And today we wanted to give a little bit of a breakdown of the coaching landscape these days, and obviously what it looks like to work with Fueled and our team specifically with the one-on-one coaching format, and what it might look like with other providers, because I feel like there is a universal lack of trust these days with the internet, which is beyond justified because it's the world of AI, and there's a lot of people who say they do X, Y, and Z, and the word hormones gets thrown around pretty freely these days. And we want to make sure that we are arming you guys with the knowledge and the resources to really find the best fit for what provider you're looking for, which ironically has become, I guess, Jess and I's whole life mission now.
Yeah.
If you have not seen any news announcements, publicity around Jess and I's next business adventure, it really surrounds this topic and just accessible preventative healthcare, and really helping individuals find the actual perfect solution for whatever it is that they're looking for. I think a lot of people experience going to their general practitioner, and that serves a time and place, but a lot of times feel like they get the runaround, or maybe they're not getting relief from whatever they're requesting help for. And we want to make that simple, because it really should be. Healthcare shouldn't be rocket science for people. And I think education is definitely a huge missing link within our country as a whole, quite frankly. I think education should happen earlier and much more thoroughly, but that's a conversation for another day. So again, we want to kind of just give you a good vantage point on what it looks like to work with us and what it looks like to work with other providers in the industry, so you can ultimately make the decision on what feels best for you.
And it may be a combination. Like, we've gotten to this place of offering a pretty broad scope of service because we've seen where the gaps are. And in the past, we have pulled in partners who are physical therapists, or we have referred out to people who were functional medicine doctors. And now we have many of these things in-house because we saw such a need for the collaboration. But I think that's another important sign of a really good provider. My primary care doctor, I've recommended her to so many people. And a friend of mine just started going there, and she was like, oh my gosh, she's the first doctor in my entire life who asked me to look at the notes from all my other doctors, from my rheumatologist, from my OB, and looked at it as a big picture, right? So even if she's not a specialist in nutrition, she's saying, hey, let's look at you as a whole person and collaborate with your other practitioners, right? If you're working with somebody and they're networking, not networking, but like referring you out to a person that they trust, good. That means they're doing their due diligence to provide you care. It's not just about, oh, I got it, So anyway, we'll and both of us have come from different backgrounds too. So like, my prior full-time profession was just in-person personal training. There's a value to that, right? So we kind of want to go through all of the overlapping fields that cover some of what we do and how that differentiates. Also, just because it's tough, I think, like, giving an elevator speech of what do I do as an online coach is kind of tough because we're muddled by this world of influencers. And a lot of people know that I was a personal trainer before. Oh, you're a personal trainer. Well, how do you do that online? What, you just like Zoom people through their workouts? And it's a very, very different thing in terms of the service that we're providing. So we kind of just want to like give you a clear picture of it. And especially now that we've grown our scope so much as a team.
Yeah. And it's, like Jess said, there's often so much overlap that comes with this, which is obviously why we have worked to grow this team and expand our like knowledge and resources and referral network too, because we want to make sure that we have the accessibility in as much of capacity that we can. But as somebody who has competed in bodybuilding, needed conventional medicine help through my Hashimoto's diagnosis, seen many functional practitioners, worked with general macros coaches, worked with more whole person health coaches who helped me through my early stages of hormone journey, and somebody who used to buy every workout plan and used to follow Instagram workouts. Like, I have been across the spectrum. And I think it's important to know what your priority is, which, it's interesting. I just had a conversation with a male, which obviously we generally and typically work with women, but he shared an experience that I think is super valuable that so many people go through, that he was dealing with being overweight and he was having back issues and he was having certain skin issues. And he went to the doctor and he kept hearing, well, if you lose weight, these things will get better. So he convinced himself, all right, I got to do keto. I got to go on GLP-1. I got to do all these things. And he would lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, go to the doctor and be like, Doc, I lost some weight and I still don't feel better. And the doctor's like, well, you got more weight to lose. And he's like, all right, but like, I made this change. There's like not even a 1% improvement. And he, it's incredible. Actually, his wife is a client. And he's like, I've learned through my wife working with you guys that, they're going about this all wrong. Like, I don't need to lose weight and to be healthier. I need to be healthier, and then I will lose weight later, and I need to be okay with that. So it's just really cool to see that shift. Unfortunately, though, he's had to go through these experiences for many, many years, like a lot of people have. And the doctor's not wrong, right? Like, I do want to clarify, the doctor's not wrong that like losing weight in and of itself will absolutely correct some health issues
a lot of
that you might
stuff
be having. Yeah. However, it's the lens that we're looking at it through. So like, he went keto, he went to extreme lengths thinking, I got to do whatever it takes to lose weight and that's going to fix my problems. But then he created this cascade of other issues, that didn't serve him. Whereas if we take a healthy approach and work on optimizing his internal health and moving his body and healthy sleep habits and these other things that he needs to work on, he is absolutely going to lose body fat, and he's going to be able to keep it off forever because he has developed the habits that he needs. And that is like one small example of the
differentiator that
looking at. Yeah.
The differentiator that you just gave between losing weight and losing body fat is huge also. So a lot of people know that I'll be healthier when I lose weight. You'll be healthier when you lose body fat. And part of that could be building muscle, and muscle weighs something. I know we talk about this over and over again, but we usually spend our first 4 or 5 months with somebody not dieting, not trying to lose weight, trying to build muscle. And we see their health markers improve with no weight loss at all. We see health markers improve. We see body composition improve. They feel leaner. They fit better in their clothes because they're building healthy tissue that is metabolically going to solve a lot of these problems.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and again, that's just like one small example of a scenario like this, right? Like, I think we are like, oh, I binge at night, so like I have an issue there. And it's a lot of times, like, not all the time, obviously people definitely have that issue, but a lot of times we hear this with clients, and then once we just get them eating meals consistently throughout the day and giving their body some nutrients and protein that it was lacking, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't binge at night anymore. And it wasn't necessarily 100% a behavioral issue. It was their body literally needed something that it was lacking.
They were hungry.
Right? Filled that gap. Yeah.
They skip breakfast and lunch every day. And then we just start adding breakfast and they're like, oh my gosh, my nighttime binging went away. And it's like, because you just you're full. You're satisfied with actual nutrients.
And like you were an in-person trainer. Obviously we can, in an in-person context, you can provide someone so much value with like their movement patterns and pushing them and all of these things. But, some people are like, well, I just need an in-person trainer, and that's the only way I'm going to work out consistently. One, that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But our approach is that we always want to do our best within Fueled to teach people the skills that they need to not rely on us or anyone else for their health for the long haul, right? Like, we want you to be healthy and strong forever. So those are just like a couple of different scenarios, but you have to know like depending on what you're looking for, like when you need to work with each provider. And
in each field, there are very effective, just like anything else, there's very effective, excellent providers, and there are really horrible ones, right? So like when I think the first time I learned that lesson as a personal trainer, I was on vacation for a week and I wrote my clients' plans to follow. And I got back and they were like, well, I didn't know what that meant. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you guys not paying attention at all? You're just going through the motions when you're with me. So I started teaching in a different way where I would almost give them little tests of, okay, now you show me this. And what are the cues? And I would have them repeat it back to me. until eventually, like, again, just like it is now, my goal with those people would be eventually you're going to be here working out 3-4 days a week without me. And I'm going to say hi and high five you on my way while I'm training somebody else new. That means I did my job well, when it becomes your habit. And that's actually our premise in our next business is qualifying these providers in the capacity of how well are they serving people so that there's an exit plan, so that that person actually becomes healthy and doesn't need to rely on you. It's not a symptom management. Okay, here's this. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Oh, your kid has acid reflux, give him Prilosec. And I said, and then what? Just for the rest of her life, you want me to give her Prilosec? Or is that's the only advice? We have to have, if you're working with a good provider in any of these fields, the ultimate goal should be, oh, wow, this is now part of my routine, part of my habits. And someday I don't need you anymore because you've taught me how to fish.
Mm-hmm. And with providers, it is critical to, like, we don't want a jack of all trades, master of none scenario, right? So like, it's also important to, as a provider, for us to know when to refer out, right? Like, thank God now we have a physical therapist on our team, but there were certain scenarios where I was like, hey, we've got a great physical therapist in this area. You really got to go see them. Or a pelvic floor therapist. Like, hey, we have a little bit of experience here where we can support from a general lens.
Basic.
You have diastasis recti. Like, you got to go talk to somebody. I'm not the provider to be able to help you fix that. And I'm not even.
But we had a really good network, and like we would refer to Brad, and he would see our clients virtually online, and then be like, "Okay, cool, we're gonna." So yeah, knowing when you're in your scope and your lane too.
Yeah, like that takes a skilled coach, because there are absolute coaches that are too naive, and they have this blind confidence in the early stages where they're like, "Oh, I can fix this, I can fix this, I got to do everything," and it's like, no, it is 8 billion times more valuable to say, this is not my scope. I'm going to refer you to a professional. Your client, your patient is not going to look at you and say, like, my God, you don't know this. They're going to be like, thank God you have this incredible network. And they're going to see that as a very valuable resource. And I promise you are going to be so much more respected in your space.
Today we want to speak. We want to speak to the woman who's done everything, right? You've counted macros, you've hired a trainer, you've seen a functional doctor, you've worked with a registered dietitian, you have followed influencer workouts online, and you're like, oh yeah, those things don't work. And it's like, okay, but it could be that person's approach. And we want to walk through the pros and cons of each isolated thing. And then we want to talk about, hey, our service as fueled, here's how we actually cross over several of these different platforms and do them very well, so that we're helping the whole person. So first and foremost, I would say macros coaches, like my perception, Jill reached out to me about working for her. And when I was training in person, and I was kind of like, nah, not into it. And the reason is because my perception was all of these really terrible, these bodybuilding style coaches who had trained their clients to have terrible relationships with food because they were having them obsess about tracking every single gram for the rest of their life. And God forbid you eat anything with sugar, and you have to have that, and you have to do cardio 2 hours a day. Again, my perception was because of my exposure to ones who were more bodybuilding style for the sport of it, not to a healthy, balanced approach, right? So we use macros as a tool. Not every single client of ours tracks macros. Some use habit trackers, but it's an excellent educational tool. And we actually use it to train women to eat more. So not to restrict, but to show them, hey, look, you're not gaining any weight and you're actually eating more and more and more. And look, now you can enjoy the pumpkin patch with your kids and have an apple cider donut and not freak out and not worry about it and have guilt the whole next day, right? So we're unwinding these patterns using that as one tool. But somebody who's a typical macro coach, I think from my perception, the pros are that it gives like structure and it builds a really good awareness around food. When I first started tracking macros, I went off of whatever like the MyFitnessPal equivalent told me to eat. And I'm only 5 feet tall. So it told me to eat 1,200 calories. And it told me what my protein goal was. So you bet your butt I started to learn about what are lean protein sources, because I didn't have very many calories to play with. Unfortunately, a lot of times there's an overemphasis on the numbers. A lot of times, again, good ones do focus on this, but a lot of times there's an overemphasis on numbers and weight change weight increases and decrease over all these other signals that our body gives us, like stress flags and behavior change. And what's your actual relationship with food? Are we obsessing over this thing? Because maybe it's time to pull back on it. So we don't want macros to become an identity. It should be a tool. And then someday the goal is to wean off of feeling the need to track. It's an educational tool or a tool to get you from point A to point B in terms of physique goals. And then you wean off of it and learn how to nourish your body.
Yeah. And this is coming from somebody who was a self-proclaimed macro coach 10 years ago. And there is a time and a place for it. Like there was a skill set that came with that, but it was very, very small slice of the pie, right? Ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, I could very easily teach somebody the skill of macros. And I do think it's a valuable tool for life for people to have some awareness around their intake. But for somebody and I can get results with macros, right?
Physique results.
Anyone. Yeah. And that is a more flexible approach than a meal plan or some generic restrictive keto diet or something else. However, I, in the early stages of coaching 10 years ago, lacked the skill set for anything behavioral. So if anybody told me, oh, I didn't stick to my macros this weekend, for me, my advice was like, well, try harder, right? Like that's not helpful at all. So I think that, again, it's a nice skill set, but like in terms of like big picture and the value that you get from that, there's a lot that's lacking. Same with like programming. Like I used to just program to program, and there was, again, I could get really great physique results, but if like somebody couldn't go to the gym 5 days a week, like I intended for them to at that time, or somebody couldn't work out for that long, or they were a beginner versus like intermediate to advanced, right? Like I didn't have the skill in those early stages. And I didn't start as an in-person trainer, at least not to the extent that Jess did. So like I lacked the skill. Like I was like, I don't know, just fix your form, watch the video, right? Like, so I did that from a completely different angle. And again, I could get some results, but I did not do a good job at all in those early stages of meeting everyone where they were at. People would come to me and pay for a plan. I would write it out and I would send it to them. And now I don't even entertain that message in my DMs that I still get frequently. Can you just read my labs and give me a plan? I'm like, no, like that's not helpful. And I know, and this can kind of segue into the next like profession, but there are a lot of functional providers in the space that will do that for you. I have people come to me almost daily asking me that question. I'm like, absolutely not. Because if you
without looking at full context too. So a lot of these providers do that and they say, here's the supplements to take.
And why is your gut imbalanced? What happened? Right. Do you have slow motility? Do you eat one meal a day? Like behaviorally, there is never, I can't think of a scenario in any way, shape, or form where that doesn't play a role, because the lifestyle, no matter what, drove the dysfunction in the first place. So if you just go back to doing the same shit after taking supplements for 12 months, sorry, you're not going to be.
You're putting a Band-Aid on it. Yeah, you're putting a Band-Aid on it. It might move the needle slightly. And then the environmental or lifestyle choices that got you there are going to keep you there. So when we say this, it's not us being like, well, you better come work with us for 6 months or a year. It's like genuinely because we need to help you change your actual behavior if you want to heal the thing. And that is not an overnight thing. That is not okay, take these supplements and it'll just fix type thing. So I guess functional practitioners, that was my, I very much admired functional practitioners before I knew anything about it. I referred some of our earlier clients to functional practitioners. And my impression, pros and cons wise, wow, it's so cool. They go deeper than conventional medicine. They're showing you your physical labs so that you can see, oh, wow, here's my starting point. If I do these things, I can actually see my labs improve. Incredible, right? They're looking at the root causes. They're working on you on cleaning up your liver, then healing your gut. Then your hormones are going to change as a side effect. Like all of this stuff works. My experience, and I have worked with them, is it's extraordinarily expensive for like them to just have me order a bunch of labs out of pocket and them give me a plan and then send me on my way. So there was not really ever any follow up or any like, well, what do I do when I'm done this plan? Like, am I just supposed to take these things forever? Or like, am I supposed to know when to come off of them? Or now is it over? Is it just done? And now that I know more about it, so almost our whole team at this point is trained in functional nutrition as well, functional nutrition or functional medicine. Now that I know more about it, I see there are serious nuances depending on the person and what the root cause problem is, right? So I'll give you a couple clean examples. My father got some sort of gut issue when we were in Mexico, right? Okay, cool. We see it on a test. We can go through a kill phase. We can take these supplements. We can repopulate the good stuff, put him on a specific diet for a few months. He's back to normal. His gut's good. His labs are better. I have another client who we brought her through all these things and her stuff still wasn't looking good and her symptoms would clear up and then it would come back. Come to find out there was a mold toxicity issue in her workplace. So we're fixing the symptom, right? And we are healing her body little by little. We're reducing inflammation. But if she's continuously being exposed to this cause, the root cause, the toxic thing, the symptoms kept coming back, right? So it's not as simple as okay, just here, I'll give you this and I'll send you on your way. And again, sometimes it could be, sometimes it's not. So it really takes a big analysis it's like putting puzzle pieces together that we need to figure out along with the person. And some of it is, okay, here's what we know. We're going to now trial and error this thing to see if the symptoms stay gone. Great, they did. Awesome, cool. We figured it out. Sometimes they don't. For someone like myself, some of my functional leanings in a less healthy way are because of my own staring at my computer and doing work when my kids go to bed and not sleeping. I can take all the supplements in the world. I eat very well. I eat a lot of protein. I eat a lot of whole, colorful veggies. I work out very well. I can take all the supplements in the world. If I don't fix that behavioral thing, the gut issues are probably going to keep coming back because it's a chronic stressor to my system, right? So it absolutely, these two things are married. It can't be one or the other, in my opinion.
And I think this happens so commonly in the functional space. Like a massive, large majority of the clients come to us now that are like, well, I've worked with functional before, I've worked with a coach before, and they get these crazy, extensive, restrictive protocols. I mean, I had a girl who came to me who was like, they gave her some general like diet recommendations. And when she asked questions, they were like, just do your best. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like that looks.
And also how effective is that?
Yeah. But she paid all this money for their expertise. She paid all this money for this protocol and these supplements. And the other thing is too, when we take clients through these protocols, the reason that we need a longer period of time with somebody is that our clients have vastly different experiences going through detox and reset and gut protocols. Some have very extreme reactions to detoxing your body, which, I mean, obviously their body needs it, right, when that happens. But we have to prepare them for that. And we want to be there to support them to pull supplements if it was too much for their body, or change something if it's not, their body's not tolerating it well. Like, it is not just one and done set. Here's the same protocol for H. pylori. Here's the same protocol for low good gut bacteria, right? Like, it's not a blanket universal thing. And it blows my mind that people can, in good faith, call themselves a doctor especially, and give out protocols like this. And then, you know, I have a client who's local to me, and she was seeing a functional medicine practitioner, and lo and behold, they've got a full supplement shop connected right inside their functional medicine practice. And they literally give you your script, and you go over to the store and you buy all your hundreds worth of supplements. And I'm like, that is so unethical. It's crazy to me. And it's these nice long protocols because how are you going to get better if you don't take them all, right? And I just think that functional medicine is evolving into a version of conventional, quite frankly. And I just think that it is so underrated for the behavior change component that comes with transformation and lifestyle coaching. And
doing the basics, yeah.
And the problem is that it would be 8 billion times easier if all I did was charge a giant lump sum to give and read labs. I can't tell you how much money I would make. I would save an immense amount of money in overhead. not paying a team because I wouldn't need to.
And
I could just
time.
dish out supplements. I would get more time back. It would be very easy for me to do that, but I can't go to bed at night knowing that I'm contributing to the problem that exists, because supplements aren't going to solve the fact that you have to do the work. But it's not
But
sexy for me
they
to
may
tell
also
you.
be valuable. There needs to be a why and a reason behind every single piece of guidance. And I don't think any of these people they're in this to help people. And then they're like, yay, I get to make an incentive on the supplements along the way, right? I don't think any of them have foul intentions. I think they see blood work improve in the short term and they're like, sweet, I helped this person heal. And then they go on their merry way, not realizing that the issues are reoccurring because or like I have a client who started with us right now. And she said, oh, well, actually, and I didn't realize that she had worked with a functional practitioner before hiring us. And this person was a registered dietitian. She's on all these supplements because they did a GI map. And she's drinking. They didn't tell her not to drink alcohol through this or not to. So it's like, okay, cool. You're doing these things, but can I tell you the why? Again, I'm not making the choices for you, but can I tell you the why that when you had gluten last week, that kind of reset your system in terms of the antibodies that we produce, right? So maybe we do really want to keep that one out. Whereas sugar is a shorter term flare up. And it might, having that added sugar because of your specific gut stuff going on might give you a short-term inflammatory thing. You'll probably be fine in 2 days. That's a lesser offender if we're talking about the why behind it. Alcohol, I would freaking keep out until you were done this protocol because it's absolutely the opposite of productive, right? She wasn't educated on each of those things. She was just given the supplements. So again, we want to provide the testing, interpret the data, and walk you through it week by week as you're implementing so we can educate along the way too. Because some people just don't know what they don't know. And they're like, yeah, I'm following a Mediterranean diet. And then I look and I'm like, oh, just so you know, let's learn how to read.
Calories.
Yeah, one, you're stressing your system out, which is causing another issue because you're barely eating. You're just doing an elimination. You're not nourishing. Or two, you think you're following this diet. And actually, we need to learn how to read the ingredients on the back of a box because it's not truly that, even though in your head, you're like, yeah, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah, it's gluten-free, so it's Mediterranean.
Right.
And it's like,
so we need to educate along the way. And that's something that we really take a lot of pride in.
But again, it's not sexy for me to tell you, hey, this is going to take 6 to 18 months because we need to get your sleep routine in check. There's going to be moments where you can't even think about going to the gym, right? And we have to go through that evolution so that you have all of the tools. And like Jess said, that you know the why, so that if you are in a crazy season of life, you know, all right, this is how I still take care of me through this. You know how to adapt to still prioritize your health. Otherwise, you're just taking supplements or you're not. And that's not helpful because you're like, well, I don't want to pay for these because I don't feel good. And I'm like, yeah, because the supplement can't fully override the poor decisions that you're making. So again, it would be way easier for me to sell from that angle than to provide the service that we do. But this is what feels most effective to me. So I am here for the women that are like, okay, that's what I want. Like, I want to do this forever and I want to know how. I do want to make the, disclaimer though, I am not speaking from a universal standpoint. There are some absolutely incredible functional doctors and providers that exist. I have a client who's been with me for a couple years, and she was seeing functional before she came to us, and before that was really like within like part of our program as a whole and as a service. And that provider does such a great job. Like, she's like, hey, this is what my labs are and this is what my functional doc recommended for a protocol. I'm like, cool, let's game plan, like implementing this. Here are my thoughts on the back end if you want to send these to her and just confirm this is okay. So we collaborate in that manner, and that doctor is incredible. So this is not functional.
I have a handful like that also. Yeah, where we work as a team, and it's so cool because the client's like, oh my gosh, this is what they're working on me with. Let's do it together. I'll email them
like, my doctor
told
me the same thing. And I'm like, yeah,
good. That's a good doctor. That makes me happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we went over macros coaches and we went over functional practitioners. Let's just get this one out of the way, because I would say this is the least effective out of all of the things, but I think it's confusing to differentiate fitness coaches or influencers. So it's challenging because Jill is an influencer, right? She is influential and people follow her because of her social media stuff. However, she has education, credentials, experience, and a service to back that up. Whereas a lot of times it's people got attention because they are fit or good looking. And then they say, oh, yeah, I'll write you workout programs because I'm fit myself. That is not just because you could get yourself fit and healthy does not mean you are qualified to meet other people where they are or educated enough to write good programming. And again, I'm just talking from a programming perspective, let alone giving any nutrition advice whatsoever. It can be motivating and trendy and fun, and they look like they're doing really cool exercises. So it's more exciting than my boring ones where we're just squatting, deadlifting, pushing, and pulling over and over again. It's less effective. A lot of it is valuable for the community. If it inspires you to be part of like yay, I'm doing this challenge with this person that inspires me. Cool. Do it if that gets the ball rolling for you. But typically they are one size fits all programs, glorified cookie cutter meal plans, zero personalization, PDF workouts that are similar to how me and Jill started a long time ago before we were good at this, right? Where it's like, oh, the harder we work, the better outcomes we get. And it's like that works until it doesn't. And also, who can work at a higher and higher intensity for the rest of our life? Like none of this takes into account metabolic adaptation or adaptation to exercise as a stimulus. So there's not usually periodization and like strategic programming phases. And again, they're only talking about usually physique. This is not, there's no addressing of behavior change.
No nutrition, no behavioral, no.
Sometimes it is, I will say, this also drives me nuts. Sometimes it is sold as, I'm a mindset coach. I'm going to help you. So it's like getting in the lane of behavior change without providing tangible tools and value by like giving fortune cookie type advice, right? Like it's like, rah, rah, again, if this motivates you to feel inspired in the moment, right on. If that feels good for you to be inspired, good. If you are hiring them for a service, however, do their free challenges, do this stuff. But if you're hiring them for a service, you want somebody who is both qualified and educated. Our experience, I was going to say. Jill, the book, okay, we've talked about this now for 3 weeks in a row, so clearly it's been impactful for us. The book that we are reading, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, I was taking notes as I was on the plane while I was listening to this book. I should also say I listen to books. Anytime I say I'm reading, it's probably not true. I probably listen to it. I'm listening to this book, taking notes because I thought this was so profound. And I feel like it really applies to a lot of coaches that we know and that we've worked with ourselves, where I want to bang my head against the wall because I'm like, oh, they say the right things on social media. So I thought that they were really good. Jill, can you say the quote? Because I think we wrote it down.
Yes, it is knowledge without, hold on.
Knowledge without experience is philosophy.
And experience without knowledge is ignorance.
Yep. And that is this, right? This is the ignorance of, you have super confidence. They look like they know what they're doing because they have this experience, but there's not any knowledge or education to back it up. They're not going to be able to teach you the whys, and it may or may not actually be effective for you. It might get you short-term results. And then what's going to happen once your body adapts? It probably will rebound more, or you just go back to what you were doing before because you're burnt out. So what was the other one? Knowledge without experience is just philosophy. I think a lot of times that's the online researcher community, the science community that's like, well, scientifically, seed oils don't matter. Okay, in a rat study, but what about when you're looking at a person whose systemic load is already taxed with stresses, right? Then it does tip the scale a little bit. So both are required. The knowledge and the experience are required to really help somebody in a whole person way.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think that, again, like workout programs, they can be good for somebody who is brand new to working out. Good. I'm using that word very loosely, I guess. It's good exposure, right? If you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Your body might adapt well because it's currently not adapted to exercise. Right. So it might be that minimum effective dose of, okay, I'm doing something more. Great. Do that until your body adapts to it. When it adapts, now we need to apply methods that are more strategic to progressively overload to effectively move our body right. Like I've seen this with other macro coaches that I really like and I think are great macro coaches who all of their training programs are seated leg extensions and hamstring curl machines, and there's no functional movements in there because they're like, well, I'm not with them in person, I can't train them to do a squat. And we do Zoom videos with people live because I want to, and they're sending me videos every single week because I don't want to just, yes, I want to hammer their quads and get their muscles bigger, but what is that if we can't get up and down off the couch comfortably, right? So it really is a big combination of like, it's not just progressive overload, it's progressive overload and also like feeling good, healthy movement patterns, mobility, the whole like soup to nuts of movement.
Yep. And then looking at just personal trainers within the industry. So obviously there is immense value if it's a good, experienced, qualified personal trainer to learn, proper form, movement patterns, effective programming, and it should be essentially tailored to you in some fashion within having a personal trainer. However, I have clients who are like, I love my in-person trainer, I want to keep working with them. I'm like, great, like feel free to use me in whatever capacity you want, whether it's, you can still send me form videos, you can send me your programming if you want any like recommendations, suggestions, modifications, whatever. But if you trust that person, that's all fine and dandy. What I find is that they're like, well, my trainer said like my carbs are too high, or my trainer said to eat 1,200 calories. And I'm like, they need to tell you I have zero nutrition knowledge, background, experience, education to give you that. Like I need to refer you to somebody else. So I feel like
or if they do, like I was certified as a nutrition coach, as a trainer. You don't have the time during a single training session to get deep into it. So like a lot of times I would simplify by telling people like, hey, add protein and add colors, count colors on your plate so that we can start to add protein and add colors. But you physically, even if you are qualified, you don't have that much time in that given session. So like when Jill first hired me, I was like, I'll take like 5 clients and just see what it's about. Cause I love training in person. I feel like I'm very good at it. I had gotten very good at giving cues and helping people not have pain anymore. Like it was very rewarding for me. This is so rewarding because not only can I help them with those things, yes, I'm not physically there with them, but I can have more control over the progressive, like the periodization of the whole program. On top of that, they're changing their whole life. It's not them just seeing me for 45 minutes and then going back to their shitty habits at home. We're talking about their sleep. We're talking about their stress. We're talking about how to navigate listening to your body when you're on vacation next week and not tracking. Like we get to look at the whole picture as a really effective online coach, as a health coach, rather than only looking at this one session. So doing that actually allows us to give better recommendations for programming too. When I have clients who have written their own workouts in the past, they end up usually shifting and saying, okay, go ahead and write my workouts, because they start getting better results. And it's because everybody needs something different. Like I have a guy right now who's a client who owns a gym, and he works out very, very high intensity. And we just had this conversation yesterday. He writes his own workouts. His workouts are awesome. Like he's taking into account his full body, his function, different movement patterns. But I'm like, dude, you don't sleep enough. You're go, go, go all the time. Your stress is through the roof. You need to dial it back in terms of volume, or we need to add deload weeks. Like his situation is very different than somebody who is super sedentary that just needs to get up and move more, right? Very, very different guidance in terms of what that workout program might look like.
Yeah, for sure. And then outside of personal trainers, I think the last area of expertise that we wanted to touch on was registered dietitians. And again, like every other area, I think there's some absolutely incredible registered dietitians, and there are some that I'm like, I literally don't even know how you graduated, if I'm being honest. I think that they're also, their position varies so vastly because some of them work in clinical and hospital settings, and others work independently, and others work in like very specific targeted what word am I trying to say? Like prescribed like nutrition plans for conditions. Yeah. I know I can't find the word I want to use, but anyway, they have different specialties and different coaching skills. And same thing, like I have certainly seen absolutely like the most thorough, intelligent humans be registered dietitians. And I've also had clients come to me with the most generic, low calorie meal plan from a registered dietitian, again, with really like no support behaviorally, which the lack of behavior support from a registered dietitian is so odd to me. Again, the clinical setting.
And I've seen it one-on-one where they get good behavioral support, but I've also seen the pendulum. Again, we try to meet in the middle, but I've seen the pendulum swing, the perception I used to have of like, oh, macro coaches are obsessive and this and that. A lot of registered dietitians I've seen have that assumption, and they don't see how tools like macros could be used in scenarios to actually help unwind more disordered type of eating. So a lot of times it's the focus on intuitive eating only. Again, we agree with the concept of, in an educated way, listening to your body and eating well. But I've seen it be an extreme where it's more listen to your body and less data. And it's like, hey, can we do both, please? So that the person can be educated on what's going on in their body. And I think some of that is their own experience. If they are somebody who has had a lot of exposure to working with people with true diagnosed eating disorders, absolutely. Maybe for those clients,
biased, yeah,
maybe for those clients, it's not appropriate for them to be weighing their food, right? Like, because they have become obsessed with that in the past. Maybe for somebody else, it's really healthy because they start to see like, oh, I can eat more and I'm okay. It's really so individual dependent. But yeah, I had a client who works with a registered dietitian, and while working with me, the dietitian emailed me and said, I don't think that this is good that she's weighing in because that's going to stress her out and cause an issue. Like, the client was weighing in once a week. We were in a muscle building phase and she was losing inches and she was eating more and more. And I asked the client, I said, hey, I'm glad that this came up. Like, I didn't realize that weighing in was bothering you. And she said, it's not bothering me. And I was like, time out. The person was projecting, we shouldn't be weighing in. We shouldn't be even looking at the scale, rather than using the scale as data to say, hey, look, the scale hasn't dropped, but you feel better in your clothes, don't you? That means you're doing healthy inputs. That means your physique is changing. That is unwinding our obsession with the scale by using the data, right? So it's all a matter of how is it used. And again, we have, there's a friend of mine who is a registered dietitian. She's a eating disorder therapist. She does not have anybody track their foods. But if we are in a conversation together, we are so aligned in some of the guidance of, hey, if you like the food, don't eliminate it. Also add healthier foods with it. Also add protein. Why don't we move our body? So it's just really a matter of finding somebody who is looking full picture at the person and can use data in the correct context.
Yep. And again, to your point, to kind of wrap that up, I think that it's always important to be open to other ways of doing things, because there are a million ways to do what we do. Truly, it's not like we're like, Fueled is the best, this is the only way to do it. It's just meeting people where they're at and finding what makes sense for them.
Based on education and knowledge, not on what worked for you specifically because you lost weight
in your own life. Yeah. So how we really bring it all together, again, just to summarize, I think that whole person health is our life's work and mission, truly, is just that we are coming at this from every angle, and that health is so much more than physique, honestly, which is what a lot of people feel like. But that it's also okay to want to improve your physique and feel good and confident. That is also part of whole person health. So is being social. So is relationships. So is having fun in life and not tracking your macros all the time and doing those things, right? So there are so many aspects that come with whole person health beyond just your weight, just your labs, just any of those things that you would go to the doctor for. And then having a plan that is custom to you, meaning I'm not going to give you a chapter 10 plan if you are on chapter 1, right? I need to meet you where you're at. And I use this example all the time that Jess shared on an episode of a client that came to us that had lots of goals. And she was like, I smoke cigarettes and I'm not quitting. And Jess was like, cool, sounds good, right? Like, we are not here to scold you or flip your life upside down. You tell us what you're willing to work on, what your goal is, and we'll help you find the most efficient path there that works for you and for your life. And the pace you want to move. So personalized doesn't mean perfect. It just means meeting you where you're at and evolving through different seasons of life. And as you learn more, obviously execution and support, right? Like some level of accountability system within a program, I think, is really important. Not just weekly check-ins and checking a box and your coach saying, yep, here are your new macros. See you later. Like
gained weight or lost weight. No, we're looking at
way
your whole
deeper than
person
that.
health and symptoms and how your body's feeling and your energy and your digestion and all the things.
Planning for vacations, looking at, I had a client who's like, we had this whole plan for this weekend last weekend and I screwed it up. And I'm like, great, let's look at this as data. What worked? What didn't? What would you change next time if you were in this situation? So I'm helping her be objective of her own decisions and experiences and empowering her to think critically and say, okay, where could I have done better? And where did I have some control over things? And where did I not? And I have to just let it go. So that level of support and teaching clients autonomy is so critical to the process. And then again, not just giving you a plan, but actually helping you integrate it in your life with eating out. If you travel for work, if you are a physician that works 80 hours a week, if you're also a business owner, I can heavily relate to your life. Navigating, we've had clients that have had multiple children during their time with us or move across the country, whatever it is. So really just like navigating those different parts of life, and how to modify accordingly. And then the actual identity shift component, which if you haven't listened to the last couple of episodes, I highly recommend. But again, not just checking boxes and taking supplements and losing the weight and hitting the target, actually evolving and leveling up who you are as a person. The people that you might see on social media, they're not just like more dedicated than you. They have just evolved their habits and behaviors and have integrated that into who they are and what they prioritize in life. And I'm not saying, like, obviously I'm a health coach and I do this for a living. I'm not saying you have to do anything the way that I do it. You just have to do it in the way that feels good for you and you feel accomplished and like you're getting what you want out of your life and your health.
And our job is to provide you tools based on your individual roadblocks, not based on my life. But okay, tell me about that. What is it about the working out that you keep avoiding? Let's talk through it because I'm going to now provide you a system. Let's try this system for the next couple of weeks. Cool. Awesome. That just alleviated that roadblock, right? So that's our job when we're talking about meeting you where you are and giving you a strategy. It's a clear action plan with follow-ups. It's not, okay, go try hard. You've got this,
with real-time evolution, adaptations, and adjustments, not here's the plan, this is what we're sticking to. So we are always evolving and adjusting as we go too.
Yeah. And I feel like we should talk about this because you have changed our service offering, basically. So in the past, we did standard, more similar to somebody who's a fitness coach doing both macros and programming. After many of us became educated in the functional space and we hired a physical therapist and we hired a functional medicine person, we have been leaning towards doing more and more and more functional labs for clients. So now we have changed our offerings to actually, one of our packages includes these labs. Again, this is an out-of-pocket cost to get full comprehensive blood work, to get a GI map, to get a Dutch test for your hormones. Now we have wrapped it into a comprehensive thing so that it's okay. If you want to do full picture, let's do it from the start so that we can see everything. Then we'll retest, and so that it is a true functional model blended with our other model, rather than us saying, okay, we're 6 months in, now you want blood work, we'll do this little a la carte type situation. It just feels really good and cohesive so that we can support people for both things, function and physique simultaneously.
Yeah, we are literally just upgrading over and over and over here, literally real time, optimizing everything. And that is always my job, is from a service and accessibility standpoint, that I'm like, how can I make this better? But also just the client experience. Like, I don't want this to be like, I'm signing up for this thing, this is going to be hard, this is going to suck. I want it to feel so good and exciting and truly just amplifies and makes your life better. And that's really what it should be at the end of the day. So it doesn't mean it's easy and sunshine and rainbows all the time, but obviously we're here to support you through the moments that are sunshine and rainbows and the moments that aren't. So that's really what we want for the Fueled client experience, but also just kind of what to look for when you are trying to make a change with your health and your physique and your life. So we hope that was helpful for you guys. As always, if you ever have questions, our DMs are always wide open for conversation. We love hearing everyone's feedback on the podcast. So keep it coming, and we will see you guys next time.